Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to the Moments Podcast. I had no idea what I wanted to talk about this week, and I kind of had an idea. I have recently understood that there's a lot of things I wish I could hear from people, but I don't really ever hear them. And I've also come to the realization that honestly, it's not on them. A lot of people don't know what you need to hear, and we can't expect them to know what we need to hear unless that's something that's clearly communicated. And as someone who doesn't really like to be confrontational or even communicate that much, it's just not really going to happen, and that's okay, and that's fine. And I just wanted to title this episode Moments Telling You What You Need to Hear, because I know I'm not the only person that is this way, and I know there's a lot of us that have a hard time not hearing things that we need to hear because, I don't know, we rely on outside validation. So maybe step one is working on that. But until we can get there and fully do that, I wanted to share with you guys some of the things that maybe I needed to hear. And I also put a question box on my Instagram and asked you guys what you needed to hear, because we all need to hear different things. We're all different people with different needs and different paths and different schedules and all of that. And we're all at very different points in our lives. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. And that's something that I'm going to dive into a little bit more. And a lot of these topics that I'll bring up throughout this episode are things that I want to do full episodes on, where I can talk more into it and actually do some research and bring in some facts. Because for me personally, especially when I go to therapy, if my therapist throws in a fact or a number or a percentage, I'm like, oh, this is legit. It just makes it easier for me to process and believe and understand and actually take in. So if there's anything I talk about on today's episode that you want to hear me ramble about for 35 minutes, let me know. Just DM me and we'll make it happen. We will do it. I have so many podcast topic ideas. And the reason that I don't just do them is because I like to, well, number one, do the research on them, and number two, have it resonate with my life, because I find it really hard to talk about things that aren't resonating with my life, because then there's just a lot less passion involved in what I'm talking about. And to me, that is the most important thing, is just being real. That's it, that 2 words, being real. And if I'm talking about something that doesn't really relate to me, obviously it's a lot harder to be real. I can still anyways, I'm rambling. I made a little outline for this week's episode and we'll go through it. I kind of already went over the first 2 points, but yeah, going back to how a lot of people don't realize that you need to hear the things that you need to hear. A really good example of this for me personally is sometimes I wish I could hear from my dad that he's proud of me. And don't get me wrong, I hear it a lot, and I know that he is, and I know that he talks about me to his friends and that he loves me, and he seriously is my best friend ever. But that being said, there still are doubts in my mind sometimes, because I know that he wanted me to stay in school and get a more less risky job, I guess you could say, a more stable and consistent job versus what I do. And ever since I kind of didn't do that, I always feel this kind of pressure that I'm letting him down. And obviously, not to even get personal, again, my dad is my best friend, and I don't even know if he listens to the podcast. I don't think he's listened to one in a while, so we might be safe and he might not hear this, but I don't even know where I was going with that. Oh yeah, so sometimes I wish I could hear him say oh, I'm proud of you, you're doing great things. And he does sometimes. I don't know, okay? But what I'm saying is he can't know that that's something that I need to hear, because he's telling it to all of his friends, but not to me. And I'm not going to be the one who's going to go to him and be like, hey, Dad, I would love if you told me I was proud of you. It's kind of like that whole expression where a girlfriend wants her boyfriend to buy her flowers, but doesn't want to have to tell her boyfriend to buy the flowers, even though the boyfriend doesn't even know that that's a thing. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we're going to move on. But before I do move on, and besides this podcast, I'm going to be obviously telling you guys things that you may need to hear, but I also wanted to tell you guys a couple of the ways that I reassure myself and tell myself the things that I need to hear that don't come from other people, just because, honestly, I don't know. I just want to share with you because it's been very beneficial in my life, and why not? One thing that I do is I have basically custom crafted my Instagram Explore page to look literally exactly the way that I want. And how to do that, because a lot of people ask, I'll post screenshots of my Instagram Explore page on my story, and everyone's like, how does your explore page look like this? Mine just looks like ads and like girls in clothes and at the beach. And I'm like, okay, well, that's because the content that you're choosing to like on Instagram is content like that. So if you're liking content of clothes or home decor or people on the beach, that's what you're going to see more of. And if you want to see more of that, then obviously keep liking it. But what I've tried to incorporate is liking like cheesy little inspirational quotes and like cool graphics. And the more you do that, the more you'll be able to find what you need to see and like the content that you want to see and the content that is going to benefit you. And for me personally, as much as I love seeing pictures of like my friends at the beach and people living their best life, it's not what I want to constantly be filling my explore page, because I'm spending a lot of time on there. If I'm constantly consuming a life that I'm not living, then I start to get in my head and I start to get upset and I start to get a little bit jealous and start to compare myself. So I try to keep it all content that is going to benefit me. And obviously, again, I love to see all of my friends doing all of their things, and there's nothing I love more than seeing my friends happy, but I'm just saying only to a certain extent. Like, I don't need to just be seeing random people accomplishing all of my dreams before I get to them. And I don't know, sometimes it inspires me, but I am human, and sometimes I do still compare, and I'm like, well, why can't I do that yet? Or why can't I afford that trip yet? But I'm on my own little schedule, and I'm on my own path, and I'll get there when I get there, and as I'm supposed to. And the next thing that I do, same thing with TikTok. If you're constantly consuming TikTok videos that are really ruining your mental health, stop liking them, or press not interested, or just scroll past it. Like, eventually, if you're only liking the content that's benefiting you on TikTok, that's what you'll see more of. Same thing as your Instagram Explore page. It's how the social media algorithm works, honestly, with any platform that you're on. Same goes for Pinterest. I always love to make Pinterest boards. Like, I really don't get on Pinterest not enough, as much as I'd like to, because I spend a lot more time on my Instagram Explore page. But Pinterest too, you can make literally custom boards, and I have ones that are like for self-love and ones that are for motivation. And you guys can actually, if you want to follow me on Pinterest, I do like to post on Pinterest every once in a while, so you can go check that, and I do like to save stuff. But do what you want with that information. I just thought it would be something cool to tell you guys about, because it definitely changes the way that my mind works. And the first step in healing yourself and evolving yourself and seeing things from a more self-aware standpoint is to just change your mindset and change the way that you see the world, because it's in the little thoughts that make the biggest difference. Trust me. Now, what I did was I put on my Instagram story question box. I think I already told you guys that. I don't know. Honestly, I'm gonna be real with you guys. The sun is shining right now. I really want to go to the beach because I feel like I haven't laid in the sun in a while. So it's not that I'm rushing, but I do have something that I'm looking forward to after this, which I think is a good thing. But I don't even know how I got on that topic. You guys, my brain is so scrambled. I love it. I love a good scrambled brain because it makes me feel really creative, and I just keep having all these ideas, and thankfully I'm writing them down. So also another idea and another tip to share with you guys. Anytime you have an idea or like you have a dream of something cool, honestly, I never remember my dreams, which kind of sucks. But if you have a dream or you have a goal or you come up with this idea, write it down. You might not be able to get to it right now. Like, a lot of the things that are my ideas, I'm like, well, okay, I probably won't be able to accomplish that or do that for the next 5 to 10 years. But I'm still going to write it down because I'm still going to make it a reality, and I don't want to let it slip through the cracks. And then if I never get to it, then it wasn't meant for me anyways, and that is perfectly fine. Okay, back to the Instagram question box. I'm getting a little too distracted. I asked what you guys needed to hear or what you needed tips on, and I wrote down a few of them. We're going to go into all of them briefly, and then I'm going to let you guys get on with your Monday because you deserve to have a good week. But first one's first. Geez, I'm glitching today. You don't need to be perfect all the time for everyone. And this is a huge one because I know you people pleasers get this, and I did an episode on this. So if this is one that you're really relating to and you really want to hear more on, go listen to episodes or moments being a people pleaser, whatever it was. You'll be able to find it if you scroll through. And I go super into detail on this, but you're not going to be able to please everyone. You can't make everyone happy all the time because what is perfect for one person may be the worst thing in the world to someone else. And all you really can do is continue to stay true to you, because the longer that you do that, the more you are going to attract people into your life who genuinely resonate with you and are going to like you exactly for who you are. When you try to change yourself or act a certain way to please certain people, even if it's hurting you, you're going to continue to attract those people into your life, and you're never going to find authentic relationships that really, really have a real bond. How many times did I just say real in one sentence? But do you get what I'm saying? If you're being a fake person, you're going to attract people who want that kind of person in their life, and you feel like you'll never be able to be true to yourself. And if you stay true to you, you will attract people who are attracted to you as you are. And I honestly just kind of put all those pieces together because I'm realizing now that I've done that in different phases of my life. And then I wonder why, not that I've had any friendships fall apart, but I wonder why certain people drift away from me and why I feel like I can't be myself around certain people. And that was my own doing. And maybe it was because I hadn't fully discovered who I was yet, and I was still in the process of doing it, or I was trying to just be good enough for someone else. If I'm doing that, of course I'm going to drift apart, because lately I've been just finding myself in such a special way. And obviously it goes in phases. I'm always like finding myself and I'm always evolving. We all are. But lately I've been very, very in tune with who I am and who I want to be. And I've noticed certain people drift away from me, or myself drift away from certain people. And that's okay, because I don't need to be perfect for everyone, and you don't need to be perfect for everyone. You don't need everyone to like you. Yes, be a good person, but sometimes a good person isn't good enough for other people, and that's fine. That's on them. That's not on you. Moving on to the next one. Someone asked how to stop procrastinating, and this isn't really like something that you may need to hear. I don't know where you're at, but I just wanted to touch on it because I've had the procrastinating problem for a really long time. I almost did it today. Before I recorded this episode, I was like, oh, I'll just go lay in the sun before I record. And then, knowing me, if I were to have done that, I would have been like, oh, well, I'll just do this before I record, and then I'll just do this before I record, and then life would happen, and I wouldn't record today. And it was very important for me to get that done today. And I guess what I'm learning lately is how to stop procrastinating is to just stop procrastinating. Obviously, easier said than done. I have always procrastinated in my whole life. I think it's because of my ADHD. It definitely is. I always wait till the last minute, but one thing that helps me, besides just the idea of no longer procrastinating, is doing the things that make me happy early in the morning. And then this is just a very new routine for me. I used to do it a lot, but it's just making its way back into my life, and it's what I did today. So maybe that's why I feel like it's relating. But I do the things that make me happy in the morning, and then I make a list of what I need to do, and I just start doing it. Because one thing that my therapist always tells me, I've talked to her about this so many times because it's a reoccurring problem. She says, just give yourself 5 minutes. If you start something and you do it for 5 minutes only, there's a very high chance that you're just going to continue doing it, and you're going to go and do it for more than 5 minutes. And that's what I did with recording this episode today. I started the outline. I started going through like the question boxes and thinking about what I wanted to talk about. And then once I started doing that, I was like, you know what? I am feeling inspired to record. I want to record. Let's just do it. And yeah, obviously it's not going to work 100% of the time, but maybe it'll work for you 98% of the time. And that's good enough. As long as you're doing your best, taking it one step at a time, I promise you'll get it figured out. Just trust yourself. Moving on, the next one was someone asking how to relax. And I relate to this one a lot because I have a really hard time relaxing, and I have a really hard time finding any peace in my mind, especially a little while ago. I really just couldn't settle down. Even if I wasn't doing anything productive or I was quote unquote relaxing, I didn't feel relaxed. My brain was like, oh, well, you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And, oh, look, you're not doing this. What a failure. That's what my brain did. And something that's actually helped me relax is doing like a lot of activity. Not like activity as in going for a run or going to the gym. Activity as in literally going in my backyard and running around and doing cartwheels and riding around on roller skates, falling on my face. And I talked about this a lot in last week's episode. It's just releasing your inner child. The more that I have done that, the more relaxed I have felt on all levels of my life. And I feel like it's just been the secret sauce. I've been having play dates and playtime and literally just living like a little kid. And it was actually so funny. I posted a day in my life, not a day in my life, like a moving vlog, some little video on TikTok. And one of the first comments was like, "I'm early, your vibe is so immature." And I was like, okay, I don't know how to feel about this. I'm going to choose to take it as a compliment, because that means my inner child has not only been something that I've been feeling, but I've been showing. And then she was like, "Oh my gosh, I meant immaculate, like, sorry, autocorrect." And then I was just laughing. It honestly made me happy, and I took it as a compliment, but it was funny. Moving on. Not moving on yet. Just be a little kid, okay? I promise that once you do it, you'll start to feel happy, and you'll start to feel relaxed. It's very interesting how that works. It's kind of the opposite of relaxing, and I don't know. Maybe it's an ADHD thing. All my fellow ADHDers can relate. I'm pretty sure, like, sometimes things affect us oppositely. I don't know. Moving on. The next one is someone, like, wanted to know, I don't remember how it was worded, but I wrote it down as more time in the day. So I guess someone was looking for more time in the day and feeling like they're not accomplishing enough. And again, I wrote this down because it is something that I struggled with very badly, and I'm sure I'll struggle with again. Because life is a wave and a circle, but right now I feel like I'm on top of it, I'm ahead of it, and I know how to handle it, so let me just share it with you while it's fresh in my mind. There doesn't need to be more time in the day. Everything that you accomplish in a day is exactly what you were meant to accomplish in that day, and I just know how cheesy it sounds to hear someone say, "Everything happens for a reason. You don't need this. You are enough. You are perfect." But it's legit. Once you really start thinking that way and believing that way, you will notice how different you feel. And I need you to trust me on that one, because it is so real. And I didn't understand that it was real until it was real for me. I was one of those people who was a hater. I was like, well, everything can't happen for a reason because this happened, and what the heck would be the reason why that happened? And once I changed my mindset, once I took the steps to, like, work on myself and become more aware of things, it did all happen for a reason, and that happened for this to happen, and it's very cool. And it's something to keep understanding and to keep processing, and it takes a really long time, and I still don't believe it all the time. But we're doing our best, and that's all we can do. The next one was kind of like advice on feeling left out or getting dumped or after a breakup. There were a lot kind of relating to this, and what I'll say about this one is that God takes people out of your life for a reason. And again, you might not understand the reason, but it is most definitely there. And I was honestly, it's a little embarrassing, but I was stalking myself on TikTok last night just because I kind of like to see, like, past versions of myself and what I was posting and what I just like to look at memories. I go through my Snapchat memories all the time too. But I came across this one video where I was talking about how it's important to be nice to your mom. And I remember when I was in high school, there were certain people my mom didn't want me hanging around just because she didn't get a good gut feeling. She didn't like their energy. She just didn't trust them. And I remember being in high school and being so mad at her. I was like, "Mom, but they're so cool. They do this, this, and that, and, like, everyone's allowed to do it, and they're allowed to hang out with all these people and go to all these things and festivals." And I was young. I was like 16, and my mom said no. And I would get so upset with her. And I would think that she just didn't want me to have fun, and I thought that she hated me and blah, 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 blah. If you're in high school and you're feeling that with your mom, trust your mom. Someone is coming through your mom to protect you from, a mom's intuition is never wrong. Someone is coming through her to protect you from certain things. And I have never been more grateful for anything than the way that my mom was, and the way that my mom was strict with me and kept me away from certain things. And a mom always knows best. And the older I get, the more I understand. You know more than a 16-year-old when you're 40. And it's crazy. It really is crazy. We learn a lot as we get older. So your parents are wise and your grandparents are wise. And honestly, this weekend I spent a lot of time with Lisette's family. Lisette's my best friend. I don't even know why I had to say that. If you're listening to this, you know that. But she had a graduation party, and I was spending a lot of time with her grandparents and just a bunch of older people, like her uncles and stuff. And I was talking to all of them. And I feel like a while ago, at a different version of myself at a different point in my life, when adults try to tell me like, oh, this and that, like you have to do this, I would be like, no, well, everything's different now. And yes, of course it is. Like it's not the 1940s anymore. Things are different and things are changing, but they still have advice and they are still wise, and it's still important to keep an open mind just when you're talking to people, because you can learn something from everyone. Whether you can learn how to not treat people, how to treat people, you can learn a fun fact, you can learn anything. So just always keep an open mind and always listen to others and hear their side of things. Unless, of course, they're a psychopath and they only have bad things and bad... Anyways, moving on. The next one, and this one, in the question box, I really think that 50% of the boxes were saying that people need to hear that they are enough. And it might not be any consolation coming from me, just because, I don't know, we don't actually know each other, and maybe it's something that you need to hear from people that are closer to you, but I can promise you that you are enough. And I know that social media makes it a lot harder to believe that you're enough or that you're doing enough. And again, this kind of goes back to what I talked to in the beginning of like customizing your Explore page to be built for you or made for you or good for you to consume, because something that I've noticed through social media is I'm seeing all these people do all these different things, and then I get it in my head that I need to be doing all of these things and living all of these different lives. But think back to before social media. You did what you wanted to do. You chose the career that you wanted to do as your career, and you stuck with it. And now it's just become a lot harder for us because we are constantly seeing other people do different things online. And we're like, well, if I'm not doing all of that, then I must be failing. Reality is you're not. You have one purpose. You have one purpose. And you will live to that. You will live up to that. You will do all of that. I promise you. You will. And you don't need to be picking up hobby after hobby just to do what everyone else is doing. I struggle with this a lot. I still do. And it's kind of just the way that my mind works. And I've always been like this. Like literally the other day, I was talking to my mom about how I wanted to get my real estate license and start flipping houses. And my mom's like, dude, you have enough on your plate. I'm like, okay, you're right, but it sounds fun. And a lot of things sound fun, but a lot of things also aren't on your path and they're not part of your purpose. And if it doesn't feel genuinely 100% like you're passionate about it, there's no need to do it just because someone else is doing it. I'm just saying. And the next one is overcoming self-isolation. Guys, when I'm going through it, I am the queen of self-isolation. And I do believe I've talked about this many times because it's something that I experience a lot when I go to Hawaii. I kind of, not that I change as a person, but I will run away from the people that love me and care about me. I like barely talk to my mom and barely talk to Lisette. I barely talk to people that I normally talk to every single day. And I blame it on the fact that I'm busy or I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But reality is you're never too busy for the people that you love. Because if you prioritize them, then it's not a task. It's not a mission. It's just something that you do. It's like brushing your teeth, you know? And I used to think that when I was going through it, if I would just isolate myself, then maybe people wouldn't have to see this version of me that I didn't like, or that I would be able to get past it before anyone noticed. And the truth is that when I stop self-isolating and I finally do bring myself back into like reality and friendships and socialization, I feel a lot better and I'm a lot happier and I have a lot more memories to hold on to. And I just thought that that was something important to share with you. And it was cool to see someone asking for like advice on that, because it's something that I just kind of, I literally actually just posted it on Instagram yesterday, that it's something, what am I even saying? It is something that I've finally kind of overcome a little bit because I've been feeling better and I've been feeling happier. And I think the first step to actually getting past that isolation is to start with one person. Maybe it's hanging out with your mom a little bit more often, or hanging out with your best friend, and then eventually maybe it's hanging out with your whole family, and just bringing yourself back into environments that used to make you laugh. I think that laughing is the most important thing in the world, and when you surround yourself with people that make you laugh, you will feel a lot more joy. It will release a lot more happy chemicals in your mind. And I promise you that. The next one is how to really separate yourself from your thoughts, and this is something that I'm still working on because I have a very, very hard time separating myself from my thoughts. But okay, glitching again. What I try to remind myself is that I am not my thoughts. There are two different people. There is the little person talking inside of my head, and then there is me. I am a soul. I'm also more than a body. I'm a soul, and I like to think of it like that. I'm a soul who's got a passion and a purpose, and I'm going to keep working towards those things, and then the person inside my head is the one who's like, no, you're not, you're going to fail, or you should probably do this better, or, oh, you're doing this wrong. That's the little voice in my head. And I think the first step to separating them is just noticing who's who and taking it from there. And as I learn more about that and understand that more, I will continue to share it with you. But for now, let's just try to recognize it, become a little bit more self-aware. The next one was handling change. I don't really remember what the actual question box said. All I know is that I wrote down handling change, so we can just dig into that for a second. Change is inevitable, and it's scary, and it's crazy, and it's beautiful. The most recent change that I've been kind of going through and processing lately is I'm watching a lot of my friends graduate, because I'm a junior, so a few of my friends graduated earlier, or I would be a junior in college. A lot of my friends graduated early, and a lot of my friends were a year older, so they're graduating, and my best friend's graduating, and it's a very big change for me because it's just different, and I don't really even know how to talk about it yet because it's so new. But I feel as though a lot of my friends are growing up and I'm growing up, and I don't know. You just have to embrace it and work on understanding it, and you don't have to understand it right away. I don't understand it at all, but it's gonna happen, and the best we can do is just try to keep a good attitude about it and try to look for the good in the change and just take it from there. But it's gonna happen, so instead of fighting something you can't change, just let the change be the change, you know? The next one is planning the future too much. I can't say I do this. I am kind of the opposite. I don't really plan the future. But I guess some advice, or what I could say, is that if you do plan the future too much, here's what I have to say since I don't plan the future enough. I like to have a rough draft. I like to have really big dreams and really big goals, but I don't like to fill in all the little details because life is going to happen again, change is going to happen, and not everything is going to go perfectly as planned. So instead of setting myself up for like this failure that's bound to happen, not failure, you know what I mean, I just set myself up with the goal and no steps with how to get there. I kind of just take it day by day, and if I do have like the first step, or I know one way to get closer to it, then I'll do that in that moment and take it from there. And moving on, the next one kind of related, hit home real hard, kind of just talked about it a little, but losing your best friend when you graduate. Well, I'm not losing my best friend, and that's not what the question box said either. It was just like the fear of losing your best friend when you both graduate. And I believe the girl that put this in the caption box was talking about high school, but it's the same thing. As I'm getting older, as Lisette's getting older, I think the hardest pill to swallow, like hardest pill makes me, could literally tear up right now thinking about it, is that we're both going in very different directions in our lives. And there is still no one in the world that I would choose to spend 24/7 time with. Like literally this girl is my sister, my rock, my human. And I just get really scared when I think about how like we're gonna be living in different places most likely, and she's gonna be working a big girl job and I'm gonna be doing my thing, working my different version of my big girl job. And I don't know, it's just hard when you grew up with someone from the time you were 6 years old to now being 21 and almost 22, and just kind of watching your lives drift apart, not your friendship, but your lives. And I think that my advice for that is to always know that you don't have to be next to someone for your friendship to be strong. And you can support each other from afar, and you can believe in each other from afar, and you can be best friends from afar. And honestly, something that brings me so much comfort is like how much better it's going to be when we hang out, because we won't have seen each other in a while. And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. She's going to be home in South Florida all of next year, and I will too. So I'm not worried about it yet. And again, I have to embrace the change, and I have to take it one step at a time. And I guess if this is something that you're feeling or going through, same thing. Take it one step at a time. If your best friend is truly your best friend, I promise you guys are going to stay close through wherever life takes you. And know that you might have to put the work in. It's going to have to be a 50-50 compromise in all ways, because if only one person gives 100% into working on a friendship, then it's not a real friendship. So it also will teach you who's close, who's a real one. Moving on. The next one is you don't need to be scared to grow up or to get older. And all these are kind of sort of tying together, and I'm starting to feel like I should do a whole episode on this, so I'm not going to get too much into detail on this one, but it's something I fear. I fear getting older. I fear what life is going to be like when I'm 40, or what I'm going to freaking do with my life. I mean, who knows? I'll figure it out, but who knows? But here's the thing that brings me comfort in that. Here's a thought that helps me. When I was 9 years old, I didn't know what I would be doing when I was 13. When I was 13, didn't know what I'd be doing when I was 17. When I was 17, if you told me I'd be doing what I'm doing now, I would have been like, what the heck, you're absolutely crazy. No, I won't. Like, I'll be doing something, I'll be doing this, and that. And now that I'm 21, I have no idea what I'll be doing when I'm 25. And I'm sure I'll learn a lot, and I'll get through it, and I'll be right where I'm supposed to be. Because in every other year, that's exactly what has happened. And 17-year-old me would be really proud of what I'm doing right now, even though she had no idea. So that brings me comfort. And the next one and the last one that I'm going to get into is the harder that your journey is, the stronger that you're going to be. And that's freaking awesome. It's true. Someone wrote that, and I was like, you know what, you're right. And I think that brings a lot of comfort to anyone who's at a point right now where they're struggling, or where they're hurting, or where they don't know what the next step is, and they're lacking the motivation to try and find it. What you're going through, number one, it's going to pass. And number two, it's going to make you stronger. And you're going to learn a lot from this, and I talk about that a lot, but just remember it, okay? It brings me comfort when I'm hurting, and I think it might do the same for you. And I totally lied when I said that was the last one. I have 3 more written down. I'm only going to do a couple of them, and then I'm going to read you a list of affirmations, and then I'm going to let you get on with your week, and I'm going to lay in the sun. But the next one is people aren't paying attention to you. Literally, straight up, people are not paying attention to you. People are so focused on their bull crap stuff, they're focused on themselves, and they're not paying attention to you. And if they are paying attention to you, they're paying attention to you and having something to say for maybe 2 minutes, and then they don't think about it again. And if they're continuing to think about it and continuing to talk about it, it's jealousy. And I can promise you that. It's insecurity in who they are. So take it as a compliment. Obviously, easier said than done. But just know that. It's something that's been very important for me to know into my life and to start believing and understanding, because I used to hyperfixate when people had negative things to say about me. But then I started to recognize that they just kept saying negative things and negative thing after negative thing. I'm like, dude, what's the obsession with me not being good enough for you? Like, what's the deal? And then, my therapist talked to me. She's like, well, blah, 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 blah. It's their insecurity. People project. People blah, 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 blah. You're fine. No one's paying attention to you. Okay? Moving on. The next one is that your feelings are valid. And there's going to be a lot of people in your life who are going to make you feel like they aren't valid. And I just had a really good conversation with my friend, Hannah Jarrah. I'm sure you guys know her. If you don't, you need to follow Wholesome Hannah on Instagram and TikTok, because she is my queen. And Her and I have the same exact brain. It's terrifying. But her and I were just talking and just like, hyping each other up a little bit and making each other feel that, where am I going with this? Feel that their emotions are valid and their feelings are valid, and it's okay to feel the way that we feel about certain things. And we talked about how sometimes it's really comforting to hear that your feelings are valid, because a lot of people will try to tell you that they aren't, and that's just because they have a different idea and they've got a different life, and what bothers you may not bother them, and vice versa. So, guess who just walked in? Lisette did.
Hey everybody, I'm gonna go outside.
I'm making her go outside so I could finish this, because I don't like when people listen to me. But she's gonna come on the podcast next week.
Yeah, I need to.
Alright, bye Queen, have fun. Okay, Lisette is gone. She's gonna come to the beach with me. If you're watching this on YouTube, the camera just died, so now we're just listening. So you might have to go finish this episode. Never mind. We're moving on. Honestly, I might just cut it here, and I think I'm going to post the affirmations on like my Instagram story and share them with you in next week's episode. I'll read you a couple of my favorite ones, and yeah. Number 1. Actually, I lied again. I'm just going to go through the list. Why not? I am enough. And you can write these down if you want to. If not, just listen. And the ones that really resonate with you will stick, I promise. And I'm going to feel really cringy just saying these all out loud, but I'm going to do it anyways because affirmations are powerful. Okay. I'm going to be okay. I deserve to be treated well. Everything around me is happening for a reason. I love myself. I respect myself. I nourish myself. I trust the path God has laid for me. I have a divine purpose. I am capable of hard things. My dreams are coming true before my eyes. I will pick myself up again. If I can't change the situation, I can change my attitude. I don't chase, I attract. I inspire those around me. I treat people the way they want to be treated. I am happy where I am, and I am learning each day. And my personal favorite one that really stuck with me and really resonated, and I have a feeling I'm going to be talking about this one for a while. If my why is big enough, my how will follow. And if you're going to take away anything from this episode, I want it to be that. If my why is big enough, my how will follow. Now, I love you guys. I'm going to go lay in the sun because the sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. It's basically summer. Aren't we all excited? And I will talk to you next Monday. Again, remember, if you want me to go into anything specifically that I talked about in this week's episode, DM me, and I will make it a point to do that for you guys because I want to. And I love you. Don't forget to follow the pod Instagram, the TikTok. You guys know the drill. I don't need to ramble on about it. Big things are coming, and I can promise you that. All right. I love you. Goodbye.